Hi, this is Brian with The Balanced Dog, and today I want to talk about the difference between breaking a dog down and breaking it down for the dog. Big difference between the two. Breaking down the dog. Basically, that is an approach where when a dog comes in or somebody's working with a dog and their approach is to kind of set the behavior up or set the dog up to create the actual behavior and then correct that dog. So basically if I was to take a dog in, that would look like if that was the way I approached it, is I would set the dog up to be reactive to a dog and then I would correct it. And so basically you start the relationship out with that dog by just through pure corrections or consequences, whether it's with a prong or an e-collar. Those consequences are probably pretty strong because I would guess the reasoning is, well, the dog's still doing the behavior, and possibly the thinking behind that is he hasn't been corrected hard enough. That can lead to a dog that then becomes shut down, or it can actually cause the dog to redirect on the handler or the owner if the owner maintains the same sort of force technique when the dog is returned to the owners, or the dog can shut down on the owners, and then the training is just going to fall apart because the owner's not going to carry on with that because they obviously feel bad for their dog, and you know, I would totally agree with them. So, you know, and then things are, you know, possibly shown to the dog after it's gone through all this, you know, high levels of correction for actually doing the behavior. So breaking it down for the dog would be totally counter opposite of that. And what I mean by that is, if I have a dog that's dog reactive, my goal is to not see the behaviors, but more importantly, see the cues or see the subtle warnings that the dog is thinking about going into that behavior, and then at that point recalling the dog out. Because most dogs that are being reactive to dogs or to people generally stems from an insecurity, because I have, you know, 2 confident dogs, and they would never behave that way to dogs or people. But my other dogs that are insecure, I really have to dial them in because that's kind of their go-to, unless you program them otherwise, you know. So they're very soft dogs. So if I took those dogs and applied firm corrections, set their behavior up, they created a behavior, and then I corrected them very firmly, it would destroy those dogs. So, you know, that's what we call soul crushing, or you know, crushing the dog's spirit, so to speak. So the whole point of breaking it down for the dog is it takes time, it takes patience, and it's about incremental learning for the dogs. So if I was dealing with a reactive dog, I would work on recall, I would work on let's go, and I would work on these things away from the dogs. I have plenty of things out here, rabbits and ground squirrels and lizards. All those I can utilize to build strong recall away from them, because again, a dog that's being reactive is generally a dog that it's loading in a predatory drive, and then it gets over that threshold, and then it becomes reactive and lunging and so on and so forth. So if I'm working them off the prey out here, it translates over to working them off the dogs, right? So again, I'm going to take my time and build that strong recall and build that dog's pack drive up as high as that dog is capable of going. And so that can take, you know, 2 or 3 days, 4 days before I even put a dog into the picture. You know, it just depends on the dog. So that goes for things like place work, sit downs, all those things. So if I start place work and the dog breaks the place, there's no punishment for it. We want that place to be a safe place, a place that they can kind of default to when they get overstimulated or something gets too excited in the house or the doorbell rings, and we've conditioned them to recall off the door and go to the place and chill. So again, a lot of people want to jump on correcting the dog for breaking the place, and sometimes in a harsh manner, in a high level, you're going to sour the place and what it represents to the dog, which is safety and calm and relax, right? So again, that's going to take time to break that down for the dog. And there's ways to kind of reinforce that place so the dog likes to go on there. Some dogs, if you're doing retrieving and you're doing it from the place, they're going to want to go back to that place and hang out there thinking that, you know, maybe we're going to play retrieving game. But also during retrieving, I'm driving that prey drive up, and the place has an association to coming back and chilling and relaxing. So sometimes the dogs just stop retrieving and go and lay on the place because they're starting to get overstimulated. So they almost take, you know, they do take themselves out of the game. So again, that's just a quick little kind of example, or whatever you want to call it, the difference between breaking down a dog and breaking it down for the dog. Breaking down the dog is not a good thing, you know. And even though somebody does that and they break it down to the point where the dog's shut down, now they have to rebuild that whole relationship, you know. And that dog has this sort of, I don't, you know, it's hard to say if it's fear or it's a distrust or something, and it's going to be compliant for fear of those corrections coming back. That's not what we want. We want to build a strong relationship through direction, through guidance. And yes, the correction has to be a part of the equation. But if you just take the time to teach that dog more through direction, you're going to see a lot of these behaviors start to drop off, or they start to soften. And then when it comes time to teaching like a leave it, there's no reason you have to be harsh on that, because you've broken that down for the dog so many different times, and the relationship between the dog and myself and that pack drive's gotten as strong as it can be for that dog, whether he's a medium, low, or high pack driven dog. So for me, that relationship, handing that off to the owner, that training is going to stick far better, because the owners are going to feel better about giving the dog directions, and then maybe having to put a leave it correction in there from time to time. So I hope that makes sense, and thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.